Hey everybody, my name is Chris and I want to welcome you to a Black trans journey. This is actually my first video on this particular channel and I was actually going to wait until tomorrow to post this video because tomorrow is my first day on TV. But this issue came up and I feel like it's a relevant one for us to talk about. So I'm posting the video now and tomorrow I will include footage from my first shot of testosterone. So today's topic is toxic masculinity in the Black trans community. And to give you all some background, the reason why I want to talk about this is because one of my fellow Black trans men made a video yesterday and it rubbed me the wrong way. And the video was posted on a YouTube channel that I was on for about a month and a half. I actually just left the group today because I couldn't sit in a space that is promoting toxic masculinity. And so to sum it all up, I'm gonna use some language that might be offensive to you all. So I want to give you all a disclaimer now. But this particular person posted this video and said that once you start testosterone, there are some things that need to go out the window. And he didn't specify what things he really meant, but he just said there's feminine qualities that you need to stop doing once you start testosterone. And one of the things he hates is trans men who act like women because they are a bunch of bitch ass niggas. That's what he said. And me personally, it rubbed me the wrong way because while I am not comfortable with all aspects of femininity, I can't ignore the fact that that is part of my life. But even more than that, it was disrespectful to me because as a trans man, you are in no position to be a person who's policing other people and their gender identity. And we have cis people who police us enough every single day. And so you would hope that someone who shares a similar identity would be supporting you and not policing you and telling you what you shouldn't be doing in order to be a man. There's no one way to be a man. So that was my first issue with it. My second issue with the video was that being feminine in any way, shape, or form does not invalidate you as a trans man or a man in general. You can be feminine and still be a man. To be feminine doesn't mean that you're less than at all. And something else that he said in his video is that if you are a female, to stay away from him. He also said that he considers himself toxic masculinity. One, that's not even grammatically correct. And then two, it's foolish. Like, why would you want to be associated with something that is toxic? Because to be toxic means that you're negative. And you can't be toxic but still trying to create space for your trans brothers and sisters. It doesn't work like that. And he actually has a Facebook group where he is trying to make a positive space for Black trans men, but you can't make that positive space while at the same time being toxic. It doesn't work that way. So that was my second issue with it. Being a man does not have anything to do with whether you're feminine or masculine. And you can have femininity and still be a man with no issues whatsoever. But also, you can have masculinity and not identify as a man. And that brings up the next issue I have with this video, where he basically talked down about people who at one point or another were transitioning and decided to take a step back and stop. No matter who you are, you're not in a place to judge someone for making that decision because you don't know what led to it. There are people who stop transitioning because of safety reasons, and maybe they live in a home that's not safe for them to be out. Maybe they live in this place in the world where it's not safe for someone to be out who maybe doesn't pass, or it's not safe for them to be known as trans. Whatever the reason is, you don't know. He also said that he makes his family refer to him using the correct pronouns and the correct name. But again, some people come from a place where they can't do that. If you're still living at home and your parents pay your bills and they are the reason why you have a roof over your head, sometimes you cannot come out and tell them what they're going to do, because you will get kicked out and you'll be homeless. That's why so many of us are homeless. Me, fortunately, I'm not. I don't live at home, and I haven't lived at home for several years now. But that's not the case for everybody. So it's not right to ever think that you know what's what as far as people decide to detransition. And even if they decide that, even if they decide to stop taking all HRT, decide not to go through surgeries, they are still trans and they're still valid. And it doesn't matter if they have any of those things done. And those things being hormone therapy or surgery, they're still trans and their identity is still valid. And it's not your place to tell them that it's not, because they don't fit masculinity in the way that you do. The final thing that I think really bothered me about this video was how he brought up studs. And if you all don't know what studs are like masculine presenting women. And he brought up the fact that there are studs who talk about wanting to transition and they're not sure, and he doesn't like that. And he wishes that they went about their transition and talking about it in a different way. But to be completely honest, a lot of trans men, not all of them, but especially, in my opinion, a lot of black trans men, some of them started at that point. They started out being masculine of center, masculine presenting, or studs. And it took them time to figure out that this is what they wanted to do. So it's not cool to downplay that or talk bad about them because they're still trying to figure it out. Because at some point you were there too. And it's not cool to be a gatekeeper and be policing people and how they are going about their journeys. So at the end of the day, I don't have to be trans feminine to support my trans sisters or trans feminine individuals. And you don't have to be a trans man or trans masculine individual to support those people. And it makes me sad because I think when I was coming to this decision about wanting to start HRT and beginning to look into testosterone, one of the things I was really concerned about was no longer being seen as part of the queer community and being looked at as a cis het man. And cis means cisgender. You identify with the gender you were assigned at birth. And heterosexual just means that you like the opposite sex. I've always been concerned about that because I don't want people to look at me and put me in the same box as a cis het man, because I'm not. And I think some of the anger and the response that this person gave in their video is a result of the media portraying this idea of masculinity as being tough, as being like super macho. You can't express feelings. You can't like X, Y, and Z, and you have to be this way all the time. Otherwise, you're not really a man. But who decides what's feminine and what's masculine? Who decides that? And not only that, but there are so many ways to express your gender. You don't get to decide which way is right and which way is wrong. And me personally, it's my goal to be a trans man who is open and inclusive about all identities across the spectrum, and also finding ways to express parts of me that I don't want to lose with this transition. The biggest thing being, I don't want to lose my ability to feel emotions, to feel sadness, feel happiness, feel joy, feel anything. And I don't want to lose my ability to share that with other people. And if that makes me feminine to some degree, I guess that's cool. Like, it is what it is. But I don't think as a trans man, you have the place to tell somebody that them deciding to keep a piece of their femininity is wrong, and then it makes them less than you, because that's not what you do. And especially if you're a person who other trans men and like young trans people look up to, you shouldn't be spreading that, because you're building this toxic masculinity in their mind. And that's not something that we need to spread out into the world, because we already have a whole population of people who are spreading it every single day. And we need to be the people who are breaking that down and not letting it get bigger and worse than it already is. And so it was really frustrating for me, because I was a part of this group and I ended up leaving today because of this. And what was really sad for me was that nobody else in the group had watched the video. I watched it yesterday and was instantly upset, went onto Twitter and talked about it, and had several trans brothers validating what I was saying. Brought it up to the person who created the YouTube channel. He hadn't seen it, but he wanted me to talk to the individual who made the video. We ended up talking early this morning around, say, 9:45, 10 o'clock. This individual completely ignored the fact that he is toxic, and it's not okay to be toxic, and especially not to be sharing that and spreading that to other trans people. He completely ignored that, and all he could look at was the fact that I called him out on Facebook, and he took it as like a personal attack. I didn't actually call him out. I posted a status on Facebook that said, perpetuating toxic masculinity is nothing to be proud of, honestly. He took that, ran with it, applied it to his video, and the only reason why he would have been personally offended is if it was true. And it is. He's proud of his toxic masculinity. So he was personally offended by it. And once he became personally offended, he stopped considering everyone else and whether or not what he was saying was even appropriate. He upset a lot of people, me included, and I couldn't stay on a group where that was being promoted, because you're not encouraging people. You're not being someone who is giving them sound advice, if that's what you're promoting. And it's unfortunate that that's how he feels and that he is not open to having a conversation about it. But what I am happy to see is that there's other trans men who are speaking out about this. And later, a couple hours ago, actually, the other guys who I was in the group with, I messaged them individually to let them know why I was leaving. And one by one, they all like replied with support and let me know that we should keep in touch. And in particular, two of them ended up watching the video after I sent them the message, and both of them agreed that it was highly offensive. And even though neither one of them is trans feminine, or they don't really express a lot of femininity, it still hurt them and it frustrated them. And I hope that the individual that made this video has conversations with them as well, and that he hears them out in a way that he wasn't willing to hear me out. Because if the shoe fits, wear it. So you knew that this is what you stood for, and you had no problem posting this video. So it shouldn't have been what it was when I posted something on Facebook, because you shared this with a whole universe, the whole world, and you had no shame. So why did you have shame when you got called out about it? And you had so much shame that you weren't really even willing to discuss what you said and why it was offensive. So I hope that someone else is able to get to him and reach him, because it's not cool. Not at all. It's not cool for trans men, trans women, trans youth. It's not cool for anybody to be doing it, but especially not in this community that already faces so many issues from day to day. So those are my thoughts on this issue, and I'm going to be back tomorrow. I'm getting my first tea shot at 10 a.m. in the morning. So my partner is coming with me, so I'm going to have her record, hopefully, and be able to come back to you all tomorrow and let you all know what the first shot was like, my experience. I also have therapy tomorrow, so I'll be able to fill you all in on all of that. I hope you all stay tuned. I left my social media contacts and everything in the description box below, and I hope to hear from you all soon. Feel free to comment, like, subscribe, share this video, and keep talking about this, because people need to know that if they say something that's problematic, they are going to hear back from people, and people are not going to stand for it. Have a good Sunday, y'all. Peace.